everyone, welcome back to Heartbeat Narratives. My name is Molly and I'm your host, and you are all in for a very special treat today. My friend Dan is here as our guest, and he is the one, the only adventure man Dan. And he's a traveler, an athlete, photographer, a nonprofit founder, and a really great friend. Thank you for coming, Dan.
Thank you. That was quite the intro. I need to have you write my resume, I think. Because that's better than I do when I'm writing bios.
I'm happy to help, but I don't think you need it. I think this conversation has been a long time coming, and you have so many interests. I feel like we could go in quite a few different directions with what makes your heart beat. But I just wanted to start off with an easy question. Where are you from?
That is a very easy one. I'm from Oregon, Corvallis. It's a little college town just south of Portland in Oregon.
And how did you end up here in Hawaii?
I ended up here through swimming. My club coach growing up is from here, so our team would take training trips every 2 years out here. So on non-Olympic years, we would come out. When I was a junior in high school, I think, starting to look around at colleges, I knew I wanted to swim in college. I knew there was no Division I programs in Oregon, so I knew I was looking out of state from the very beginning. And during this biannual training trip that we came out and did, I was like, I'll go meet the coach and see the campus. And so I did an unofficial visit out here. I was like, this is cool. And so then I did an official recruiting trip. It was actually the only one I did. I signed early signing in November, got a scholarship, and swam and dove out here. That's how I got here. But then how I stayed is just like everything keeps falling in my lap. Like when I moved out, I didn't expect to stay in Hawaii necessarily. Like, it's far. I loved it. And I loved the openness and adventureness and like the spirit of everybody here and how everybody was willing to hang out and everything like that. I did my undergrad and I was like, this is cool. And then the opportunity fell on my lap to stay on and help with coaching of the swim team. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And so the head coach was like, hey, I don't really have a position, like a paid position, but I can pay for a master's degree. And then my professor that I worked really closely with, Dr. Prins, was like, oh, yes, so you can come do your master's degree here in the aquatic research lab. So I got to film swimmers underwater, work on biomechanics, which was super cool, passion of mine doing swimming, but then also help out with the swim team and give back to the swimming community. And then that rolled into filming underwater. Then I started filming above water, started filming everything else that I'm doing. And so then I'm doing photography and videography and get into the rise of social media as an early adopter of Instagram. So then I started traveling and documenting all that stuff. And then home base here is Hawaii. And so then that becomes just a great place to be. And then eventually I started shooting video for a group that was doing swim lessons. And I was like, are you sure you really want this video? Like, can I help give some tips? Because, I have an aquatics background. I have the biomechanics background. And so then I ended up helping work on some of the curriculum development stuff. And then that was my segue into education, because my master's degree, while it was in biomechanics, was actually through the College of Education. So there was pedagogy and other things that I studied as well. And so it ended up being such a mesh of all the things that I had done beforehand, turning into this, now I'm doing aquatic safety education. And that's where my nonprofit that I now am running comes from. But everything just kept falling in my lap. Like, it was not just, I'm going to move here and then I know what I'm doing. It's very much a winding road of where the opportunities lie. I didn't expect this to happen. Things keep just kind of lining up. I'm very fortunate and very lucky that those things did. And that's the story of how I was here. I don't remember if that was the actual question, but that's where we're at.
How you stayed, and I feel like that's just the path being laid out in front of you, because you have the care for Hawaii, you have the skill set, and we need people like you who are really giving back to the community. But also, I just feel like you being here makes so much sense too, with all of your interests, your love of adventure and love of the ocean. I feel like those are like the grounding elements of your personality, like being your friend and observing what you do for fun and for work. With that, what makes your heart beat?
I feel like the best answer in this moment is friends. That winding journey I just explained, it made me think of all the different spheres of friends I've had. I can think of 5 distinct friend groups that I've had throughout the time, and just the visceral memories of each one of those hanging out. Like, what was I doing when I was initially in college and learning just how Hawaii is and that culture from the very beginning? Or the little bit more studious people I met when I was doing my master's degree, and a little bit more the open water swimming groups. Or then obviously travel influencers and like social media and photographers and that adventure side of it during that sphere of life. And then now nonprofits networking, I guess, and just the different people that are movers and shakers in the community that are giving back, that are in the water sphere as well. Like, it's been really interesting to have that many different cycles of friend groups, but always having a lot of close people. I think that's something that's really valuable and important to have.
Yeah. We met through friends too. So there are these like circles that are always overlapping and with different interests, whether it's cliff jumping, cliff diving, rock climbing, hiking, and I feel like you are in all of those circles, plus the Wednesday barbecue crew from like the original days.
Right.
So how many years have you actually been here?
I've lived in Hawaii, I think 17 years.
Oh my gosh, we're not that old.
No, we're always young.
We're always forever young.
Forever young, yeah. I think I moved here in 2007, so yeah, whatever that is. I don't know. I can do math.
Yeah.
I can't do math. That's a lie.
It's okay. Pretty much half your life.
I'm pretty sure it's 17 years. But yeah, just about half my life I was thinking about that, where I left Oregon right around 18. And yeah, like I'm right at the crux of, midlife crisis. Here we go. We got both halves.
Oh, we're all in that. We're all in that midlife, mid-30s. What's our purpose? What's happening? Yes, we're navigating it.
What's your purpose is a great question. Like, aside from like what makes you happy, but what gives you purpose, and like what you have to find the meld between those two of them. I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day of like, why am I here? And it was an interesting thought process.
I will not ask you that question in this interview. Unless you want to go real deep. But I think your response about friends feels so authentic to how you spend your time, who you're spending time with, doing all of your adventures. And how did you even come up with Adventure Man Dan being like your social media handle and persona?
It's a great question. Let me see if I can even remember. I want to say originally, if you look back at the OGs, like when I first started Instagram, I was D-word 808 for my name, but 808 being Hawaii because I was like, I'm based here. And it's actually pretty funny because a lot of people look at it and think, oh, what's the D word? What is that?
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, okay, that's not what I want.
Delete.
So I knew I needed to move on from that. That wasn't the best choice in my head. But yeah, Adventure Man Dan, I liked adventure. Like I wanted that to be part of it, was just like going around and doing different things and not just being tied to any one specific sport or activity, because I was involved in so many different spheres, whether it was swimming or diving or free diving or cliff jumping or rock climbing or hiking or traveling or just adventuring, going around, doing fun stuff, learning new things, learning new hobbies, biking around the island, or I don't know. Tangent. Yeah, I don't exactly remember how I landed on it. I do remember thinking that it was cheesy when I came up with it. And I was like, I'll probably change this later. And it is entirely stuck. I still introduce myself when people ask what it is. I'm like, oh, it's cheesy, but you'll remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I needed something because I wanted to have a better name that was a little bit more recognizable. I was putting some stock into being a social media presence and being a professional athlete. And so I needed something that was recognizable, brought up something that represented what I was trying to do with those accounts.
Mm-hmm. I remember multiple occasions when we were at certain cliff jumping spots where people recognized you from your videos and your pictures. And I was like, oh my gosh, that must be such a weird feeling at first, where suddenly people are like, I know you, I know that you've jumped from this spot, and they feel like they already know you. What is that like? That
is the weird one, when people like know things about you that you're like, I know I haven't told you that yet. It's actually kind of funny. So I'm pretty bad at names. I'm pretty good at faces, but I'm bad at names or like remembering where I know people from. And so even before social media, I had this problem where I would be hanging out with people and they would bring up things that like, I don't remember the conversation, I don't remember the stuff. But I think one thing that is important in Hawaii, because it's such a small island and there's a lot of small connections, is not brushing that aside. Like, they feel that connection. There is a friendship or relationship there. And so who am I to say that doesn't exist, kind of thing? You know,
exactly.
Like, I want to still be the friend back, wanting to like at least ask names or remember who people are, kind of like start to remember the face, because I can remember faces pretty well. Or that they'll tell you like, oh, I know you from social media, then you don't have to worry about, okay, I don't know you yet, I don't have to feel bad about asking your name. But yeah, it was a trip going out with people that are actually famous, like some people that are movie famous or photographers or people that people actually know from other things. But it's an interesting dynamic of, okay, my reputation is out there, who I am is not just, it's the social media presence and who I act online as well as who I am in person. And so that's something interesting to navigate on a small island, where it's really important to make sure that you keep your friends friendly and you want your reputation to precede you. And so in that sense, that's all it is. It's just your reputation preceding you, just with that augmented social media presence.
Yeah, you're still you.
Yeah.
And you're engaging with people in meaningful, fun ways. And I know that even at some of those dive spots, you're a lifeguard too, so sometimes you're acting in a totally different capacity, helping someone get back to shore and back to safety. And so it's like you wear a lot of hats when you're out.
Definitely. Yeah, that's another whole dynamic of being on a cliff and like wanting to play and wanting to have fun and like meeting new people, which is, again, always fun. It's energizing. But at the same time, trying to like gauge, okay, what's your ability? Like, how strong are you? Am I going to have to jump in? You know, I have made a bunch of saves where I literally had to tow people in and coach them through how to jump out or time the wave. This one girl, I pushed up on the rock and she fell back in because she was too exhausted. So I had to get her out a second time, or like people getting scraped up. It's a really interesting dynamic to play where you're like, all right, we're here to have fun. I'm capable. I think you're capable. But also having to be ready for like, all right, what happens if it doesn't go as well?
Yeah. So interesting.
Multiple hats, like you said, multiple hats.
I think one of the recognizable things about you is the fact that you have this really awesome Volkswagen van that you would drive everywhere. And I was just curious, do you have any fun van life stories that come to mind when you're thinking about your beloved adventure van?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with that van. I think what I loved about it a lot was the flexibility, go places. Speaking back to a bunch of the friend circles, I think I've recognized that a lot of the friends that I had, I stayed connected with them as much because I could go to them. So the fact that I could drive to somebody's house and hang out, and then I'd just basically sleep in their driveway that night because I had the bed in the back, and then I could go somewhere else and just be like, all right, whatever friend that I wanted to see or hang out with or whoever's doing something. I made dawn patrol trips or chasing the sunrise for photography, or going up North Shore to go surf or go take photos, or, we're going out west side to go camping. It made all of those really easy to always be a part of it and just be down for whatever, which led into that whole persona of Adventure Man Dan of just being out and about and everything. Specific stories with the van, I don't even know. There's too many to like think of, but I think the ones that immediately come to mind are some like the North Shore trips where you just wake up farther away out of town where you're, again, surrounded with friends, surrounded with people, and you're just there to go, we're here for sunrise, let's get up and let's go and let's play, and you're ready. I think those are some of the goldenest memories, I guess, if I could say it that way.
It's like your home base is freedom.
Yeah, that is an interesting way of putting that, but that's totally what it was, is that I really valued the ability to go places and say, my home base is me and I can do whatever I want with that.
I remember seeing your turquoise van like all over, and we'd be like, oh, Dan's in Mo'ili'ili tonight, probably because he's coaching in the morning super early. Or we would see you occasionally on the North Shore like, oh, we didn't know he was up here today, but we should call him because we know that that's his van.
That is one cool thing. I didn't put the van on social media that much. Like, you'll see it pop up here and there, but that was intentional. Like, I didn't necessarily want everybody knowing, but my friends obviously know the van. And so I got a lot of those kind of phone calls. Oh, you're here? Sweet. Let's hang out. I'm right next to you. Or, oh, I see you're up on North Shore. What are you doing here? How long are you staying? It didn't help out in like surprise party situations. Like, I remember one time I was at a friend's house for a surprise birthday party, and I had to park so far away so that he wouldn't see it and walk in. Yeah, very recognizable, for sure.
That's hilarious. I imagine that, yeah, it's like an extension of your personality for that chapter of your life, especially. So funny.
I just think it's funny because I'm not a car person. I'm not a van person. And so while a lot of people associate me with the van, I knew from really early on, like, I didn't want to learn how to make repairs or engines and stuff, which almost made me feel not worthy of the van because VW owners should know how to fix everything. And here I really don't, which is embarrassing. Now the van's more of a joyride fun vehicle. It being driven less makes it a little less reliable almost, because you have to be keeping up with the engine and keeping, driving it and having stuff going. So I'm like, oh man, I really probably should learn more van things if I'm going to keep this van.
I remember driving in it one time and I was like, wow, he is one with the van. Because you knew all the quirks, you knew how to like get the doors open a certain way, turn the wheels a certain way, the windows had specific needs. And then because it's a flat front, you could
I know,
go
right where the front nose is. Yeah.
super close to the car in front of you. And I'm like, whoa, are we hitting the car? But no, you're like good 5 inches away.
Parking in a lot of places, especially around UH, when I had that parking situation that's how I learned exactly where the front and back are, is because you have to squeeze into some tight spots and the van barely fits sometimes. But yeah, you learned where those boundaries were.
Yeah, so funny. I'm curious, what was your craziest jump that you ever did? Craziest cliff jump or cliff dive?
Craziest. That's a really hard question. There's different ways of defining crazy. Like, the top height is a big deal for sure. The trick that I was the most out of my element for is maybe another way to define it. The most energy or just like excitement around it. Thinking about group dives that we've done with squads. Danger element. There's just different ways to do it. The most memorable ones, as I'm like shuffling through this deck in my head of like, all right, craziest, what do I go
Memorable.
for?
We'll go with memorable.
Leap of faith, the first time I did that one. Open ceiling cave in Kauai was a big one. The Arizona, why am I forgetting? Havasupai Falls. That was a really big one. That one, I stood up there more than once before I finally jumped off that one. So that was a big one. South Point with the old bomb squad of early social media diving, and my first attempt at a triple half, and it did not turn into a triple half. It was a double full. So I came out early and did a full twist instead of a half twist, and only did 2.5 flips. I went to my head.
Did you fall flat?
No, my body knew enough where I was. So this is the common theme, which is really cool throughout these. Both with that dive at South Point, where I was really trying to do front triple half. So you're doing 3 front flips, and then you do a branny, a half twist to come out of it. So you're spotting the water the whole way down. And I didn't know enough of where I was cognitively to do it. So when I came out at double flip, because I knew where that was, I should have waited to 2.5 to come out. But I came out at double flip and then did a full twist to wrap myself around in my other half flip. So I ended up doing 2 flips, a full twist, and then landing on my head because my body knew where I was. Ouch. It was like, I gotta get my head in because I don't want to land flat. That was an entertaining one. But a really similar thing happened when I was in the open ceiling cave on Kauai, where I climbed up from the outside. I depth checked beforehand down below, and a bunch of the other friends were down climbing like 20, 30 feet up on the inside of the cave. To get to the top of the cave, I had to go outside, so I swam out of the cave, going all the way, climbed up to the top to this open ceiling. And then I was like, you know what, I don't really want to climb back down that. That was really sketchy, so I have to jump now. So I forced myself to go. And as soon as my feet left the rock, I realized like, oh, I am higher than I thought I was. So in midair, I felt my body readjust and say, okay, we're slowing this down. We're staying extended. You're not going to pike over soon. And that was one of the coolest feelings to know that like cognitively, my mind is processing. I know what I want to do and I can tell my body what to do in the midair, but also my body's going to take over a little bit and be like, hey, we're going to keep you safe and we're going to make sure that you need to do what you need to do. And like that instinct married with the what do you want to do is what ended up keeping me safe and allowing me to dive so much, I think, throughout the whole career of diving, which I'm still doing. I did the ad with Olokai, a campaign with Olokai the other day, which was super fun, great crew. But you wouldn't be able to keep going if you're just those kind of people that go out and just send it and are just trying to do multiple flips and you're just going until you splat. Eventually you're going to hurt yourself. So I think that's a really cool thing that I've felt more than once. It's just that body awareness taking over, but allowing me to have control in the moment, but also like I can trust myself to complete it.
You're finding that balance between your conscious mind and then your subconscious body, metaphysical something.
Something in there.
Yeah, that's really cool to get to that place where you understand your physical body so well that the second nature kicks in, and you're also pushing your body to its limits in some ways. And I feel like most people never get to that point with their athleticism. And
true, yeah.
I feel like our friend group in particular pushes the envelope in those ways, whether it's running or hiking or swimming. Like, you're at the cutting edge of what you're capable of. And for me to observe other people in.
Come on, Molly, you're right there too. But no, we do have a lot of friends that are on that like cusp of putting this stuff. One thing that I think is really interesting, and not everybody feels this way, but knowing that limit of your body, I know that I really like what my body can do more than what is human capable of. I see that in the way of I prefer cliff diving to skydiving, or I like body surfing more than actual surfing on a board, or I like trail running more than I like downhill mountain biking. Just as soon as you give me gear that allows me to push past what my physical body could handle, that's when I start to get injured or when it starts to not be as fun. Like, I would rather be like, me, what can I do in nature? What can I just do on my own? And I can do some incredible things. People are awesome. But that's a distinction, because a lot of people want that. Oh, I want to be flying. I want the whole skydiving or base jumping experience, or downhill mountain biking, or any of those are obviously very popular sports as well.
Yeah. What has been one of your most memorable adventures, whether it was here in Hawaii or during your travels?
I really do think more about the people I was with than what I did. I think that you can experience the same place multiple different ways, depending on who you're with. Thinking about Spitting Caves, for example, I've been there so many times, but going with the right group of friends or seeing people experience it for the first time, it doesn't get old. Even though it is the same place over and over, but it's not. It's a different experience. And I think that's something that I gained a little bit from growing up in a smaller town in Oregon. Like a lot of big city places, people are like, oh, I've been there once, I've seen it, I want to move on. Versus I'm like, no, I want to see this in fall, I want to see it in winter, I want to see it in sunrise, I want to see the different temperatures, I want to see the different seasons. Like, I want to see how can I experience this different ways with other people. So that's what I think about when you're like, what are your favorite experiences? I'm like, there's standout ones, but it's also more about the people I'm with and like the memories I have of that more than what was the place or what were we doing. I think that's the bigger thing.
Do you have a specific memory at Spitting Caves that you're bringing forth in your mind?
It was a little more generic of just, there's so many good ones there.
Yeah, totally.
Just sunset dive sessions with the friends. The sun's going down. It's that golden hour. Everybody's amped for being there. There's just not one in particular, because it did happen more than once. But like some days it was with 3 people and we're sending triple tandems, I guess, not triple flips. Or like diving keyhole for the first time, where it's that side angle of Spitting Cave that has a different little light. I'm psyching myself up, because at that spot it's super sketchy. If you land in the wrong spot, it's only 2 feet deep. So you gotta hit the right hole. Or really calm days where, free diving around there and just kind of exploring it for the first time and being like, oh, this is what the bottom looks like. This is how the drop off is. This is where we can swim around. This is what's at the base of the rock. It's a whole different sport of experiencing the same location that you've been at more than once, depending on, oh, am I with cliff divers or free divers?
Yeah. I think when you're talking about Spitting Caves and specific spots that you go back to, there is something really special, and I think it's very grounded in like a Hawaiian way of knowing a place, because there's that deep level of observation. You know that place at sunrise, at sunset, in this season. You know what animals to look out for certain times of the year, when more visitors will be coming in and out, like whether it's spring break or summertime. And I think that like in the Hawaiian culture, that kilo, that observation is so integral to like knowing a place, knowing your community. And you have that with so many places around Hawaii, but especially like your go-to spots. And like I specifically remember celebrating your birthday at Spitting Caves, and there were like 30 people who showed up, and we're all just like carrying cake and eating at sunset. Or we go out with a smaller group and the waves might be a little bit bigger, and there's like a bunch of high schoolers who are watching in awe because they're so excited to like see people actually do flips and do it properly and safely. It's really cool to observe you in your element, in your places.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool to hear. As I said before, you can have different experiences going to places and kind of seeing it through people's eyes, like seeing it for the first time. You basically just mirrored that and said, I'm seeing it through your eyes, like experiencing it and watching it. And that's equally cool.
And you experience Spitting Caves in a way that I've never experienced it, because I take pictures of everybody playing and having fun while I'm safely on the rocks observing the sunset. And I think it's just been fascinating seeing your life as your friend, and you go on all these adventures, and also me getting to partake in some of them where my capability meets the group that we're with.
You don't have to be at the same level of doing the adventure. Like, you're the embodiment sometimes of being there, being supportive, being helpful, but like matching the energy and matching like the vibe and the friendship but also not having to do the craziest thing that's available
Yes.
to being there. I actually relate it to, you love roses and thorns.
Oh my gosh, yes. I've done this on the podcast
Oh, you've
too.
done it on the podcast before? Okay, so this is perfect. So everybody knows what we're talking about already. It's almost that same experience. Like you could say a roses and thorns of How Is Today, and you're both at the same place, and you both have different roses for the same event because you're looking at it from different perspectives. And that's always something that's pretty cool.
Thank you for saying that. I think that's something I've always brought into different conversations because, like, even right now, a bunch of our friends are showing up outside for a potluck, but we can do roses and thorns before we eat dinner. Mm-hmm. And, we all had a different Sunday. Mm-hmm. Some of us had Sunday fun days, whether we went out hiking or just stayed around cleaning the house, talked to our families, or whatever our rose for the day might be. But unless we ask each other, we're not going to know one another on those like deeper levels. And I think that's the whole point of my podcast is if you lead with curiosity, you get to know people better.
Yeah.
And like, I've known you for, 8-9 years at this point. Some of these stories I have not heard before because we're not always talking about these specific questions. Mm-hmm. It's like the day-to-day stuff or like, how is work going? So I just really appreciate your time. And I know that you have a lot of adventures ahead of you, and one of your more recent adventures is founding your nonprofit and swim education for kids for our keiki here in Hawaii. Would you like to talk a little bit about your nonprofit?
Sure. I'm very passionate about it. We do aquatic safety education, bringing swimming. It's not even swimming lessons. It really is water safety. And there's a difference between swimming lessons and water safety that we don't have time to go into right now because I could talk for hours about it.
I've heard you talk for hours about swim safety.
Yeah. Our flagship program is bringing it into schools as part of their health education and physical education classes. The nonprofit itself also is hoping to expand to offer like paddle safety and surf safety classes and other things to community members that doesn't exist right now. So tying in both the aquatic safety, trying to teach kids as early as possible, and then saying, hey, you have these foundational water skills. We hope that you take these skills that you've learned in this enjoyment of the water and pursue it as a lifelong activity, whether that is swimming or whether that's surfing or whether that's paddling or sailing or scuba diving. There's so many different sports, especially out here in Hawaii where you have the open water ocean. I don't expect to be the instructor or the teacher or to have an organization that can teach all of those things, but what I want is to create that appreciation for the ocean and respect of safety. So yeah, that's the overall mission and goal of the nonprofit. And the education aspect of it is just something really fun that I found that I enjoy that ties into what I studied in college. Most people say, oh, I didn't even use my degree in college. Here I am getting to use it, not expecting to. The other thing that's really interesting with it is to keep tying all these things together is how active I've been in the community for cliff diving and free diving and pushing those limits, like you said, of what's capable of the body. And if I go all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, like what's your purpose here? I think my purpose is to make people better. I want my presence to like make people level up and like whether that's helping gain knowledge or helping them teach or just making them like, oh, that's the standard. Like I want to be good, whatever they're at. I think that's really cool. And I hope that I have that effect on people. But backing up on that, like the education aspect of it, I really like seeing the light bulb click on in people's eyes when they think about, oh, I get that now. Or, oh, this is how you do that technique thing. Oh, that's how you can talk to a kid and explain something that I was already doing really well with adults, but how do I frame it in a different way to get the kids to learn it? Those kind of moments to me are really cool to watch the instructors. Like my impact to the instructor has been magnified with all the students that they teach. And now showing up at these conferences where people know me, they know that I'm this. I actually got a comment one time from this epidemiologist researcher about crazy people jumping off spinning caves or being dangerous. And he told me afterwards, I took everything to not look at you during this conference as he's answering this question about stats of people dying. So I come with this reputation of doing these crazy things and pushing the limits in water, but at the same time also having this deep appreciation for the ocean and wanting to teach safety and creating a curriculum that is based on safety and injury prevention, not based on skill development or swimming. And that's such an interesting dynamic to try and navigate, where I have a reputation on social media for one, and I have a reputation in person with these conferences and this organization of another thing. And as people like see them both merge together, they're like, wait, you're doing that? Like, how do you rectify? And it's a really cool moment to explain some things. There's 16 aquatic safety competencies. Propulsion is one of the 16. Entering safely is another one of the 16. And so I love using that as my example of, oh, how do you cliff dive? How do you take that danger and then try and tell kids, like, oh, you have to be safe when you get in the water? And I'm like, how do you enter safely at a pool? Sitting down, taking a moment, looking around in front of you before you get in. Can you do that exact same action when you get to a beach? No, you're not going to sit in the sand and let the wave hit you. Whatever. Entering safely is different from doing a safe entry. That's the action versus like how do you do it cognitively and physically, like entering safely. Someone who has a high development of safe entry competency will go depth check and go look at what the water's like before they get in and think about what is my exit, how do I get out before I get in, and think about, okay, how do I want my feet to enter in the water? I'm not going to land, again, flat on my face, or do I need to go shallow and scoop on this dive right here versus landing when the wave is spinning, when it's softer, or like when the high tide is. All those things tie into that competency. And again, that's one of 16 different aspects or reasons that people drown. And so, again, curriculum development, taking those into account, and that being what the nonprofit is working towards. I forget how I got in this tangent, but
it's okay. I asked about the nonprofit. I remember I was doing a site visit for work at a community center in downtown Honolulu. And during the site visit, there were all these really adorable little second graders from some of the local public schools. And they were just like following you around because they were going to go to the swimming pool. And it was their physical education class and you were teaching them. And I was like, oh, of course Dan is here working with these kids and teaching them essentially how to be safe in water. And it's such an important skill, especially for keiki who are growing up in Hawaii, in an island state. We need to have those skills from when we're kids all the way through when we're adults. And they can teach their families too how to be safe in water. So anyway, that was just like a cool connection because I hadn't seen you in action.
It's those spheres, right?
You know, when you see your friends in a different element of theirs, because we don't always see people outside of barbecues or hikes or whatever the usual hobby might be that you share together. So I just want to ask you, what is your next adventure? What's on the horizon for you?
The real next adventure is the nonprofit right now. That's taking all of my time growing it and devoting everything to like running it, how it goes. I actually felt myself this last quarter. We had over 200 kids in the water and it all happened really fast, but I remember being in the middle of it and being a little bit stressed, but being like, wow, I'm comfortable with this. I can run this program, no problem. I've got this. And what was really the adventure of learning was like, okay, how do I manage the organization? How do I make those network connections? How do I work with the city and county and the principals and the DOE and the funders? And how do I make the organization thrive and grow and not just make the program and the impact of the kids happen? And so that's my next adventure for the next couple of years, is making sure that I continue networking and meeting more people in Hawaii and always learning to respect more about the ocean. Being out there recently on a boat, I was with someone who did the Molokai to Oahu paddle. I'm not a great paddler, and so to watch her make that whole channel crossing was really cool. And I'm on this boat with this boat captain who is amazing, and he's basically giving her feedback of how to catch these small little side bumps because the wind and the current was pushing us south. And so a lot of the waves are pushing everything south, and she can catch these big waves, but it's going a little bit off her line. And so he's like, hey, big waves are for smiles, small waves are for miles. Like, you got to catch the big ones for funsies, but then you got to catch a couple of those small ones to get you back on the track where you're going the miles and getting through this thing. And while I'm in the water most of the time, swimming, I'm at water level, or I'm cliff diving, I'm on the edge of it, or free diving, I'm underneath. I don't care that much about the waves or the wind. And so watching him coaching and talking, and I got to see how the big waves coming through from the wind swell versus the ground swell going more like westerly, northerly, and how our paddler was catching those waves, doing the smaller bumps. They weren't as big a wave, but she's catching them on her surf ski and like cruising along, and I could see them from how he was explaining it. I probably wouldn't have picked up on it, the immediate feedback to see them going. I was like, I'm learning a new skill right now on the water. There's always things to learn with the ocean and with water. And I think that's the adventure that's coming up, is just continuing to learn more about things that can help me provide water safety and make this organization grow and continue to just make people safer.
Definitely. I think you're the right person to do that and to like contribute to Hawaii in that way. Where can listeners find you?
Great question. I'm not on Instagram that much. I have so Adventure Man Dan is my adventure page, and then Swimming with Dan is my aquatic page that I do swimming stuff with. But yeah, really the best way is to come hang out. Like, I like friends. Come meet in person.
Friends make your heart beat.
There we go.
I really appreciate your time. This was super fun. And I know that we're going to go hang out with some of our friends now at a little potluck on the lanai. So, Adventure Man Dan, thank you. I'm excited to see what the next few years unfold for you in terms of the nonprofit and all the fun places that you're going to go from here on out.
Thank you, Molly. Thanks for having me. And as always, you're a great friend. Happy to be here.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Aloha.